Our old friend Rich Gambini did Crimestoppers with us for a good number of years until he got just sick of us and decided he was going to retire.
I think it was that last request for his wife's sausage rolls that put him over the top.
Yeah. Oh, man.
They didn't last very long.
No, about 12 minutes and they were gone. But in that chair now, it's our friend Ken DeCoster. How are you, sir?
Great to be here, Riley and Scott. How are you guys?
Nothing to complain about. Christmas time, you'll be needing to bring in sausage rolls.
Literally is our one
Riley,
requirement.
That is it.
One question for you. Did you ever finish college?
I didn't, Ken, and therefore my exploratory committee is folded up. I had about $8 pledged, and I will be returning it to the Koch brothers.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you here. So now, tell us, you do more than, obviously, than just coming in to talk Crimestoppers. I saw you on TV the other night.
That's your problem.
I didn't know where the remote was. The wheel was coming on anyway. So you're wearing several hats in this position, Crimestoppers being one part of the job, right?
Correct. Filling Rich Gambini's shoes will be difficult, but I will attempt to do that. I'm also going to work as Sheriff Caruana's public information officer, so depending on the event, if there's a major crime or emergency in the area involving the county, I'll be disseminating information to the news media, kind of a role reversal for me.
Yeah.
And then doing some work for County Board Chairman Scott Christensen as well.
Now, as a guy longtime news guy, that is, a real juxtaposition from the, hey, I'll ask the questions here, to
juxtaposition. Ooh.
Okay, I still get
Not
Reader's
bad for
Digest.
a guy who didn't finish college.
They had Reader's Digest at Kishwaukee.
It was highlights, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, except all the idiots connected the dots before I read them.
Were you goofus or gallant?
I was more goofus than gallant, really, but I hope I learned. I forgot where the hell I was going with that.
We were talking about the juxtaposition of my
role reversal.
Yeah, from the I'll ask the question to I'll answer the question.
It is a strange role reversal. In fact, last Monday, I was at the scene of a domestic shooting down on Thorncrest Drive in southeast Winnebago County, and a couple of TV stations showed up, and it was an ugly scene. A woman allegedly shot her husband. There was some alcohol involved, allegedly, and but it was weird to be on the other side of the camera answering questions. So,
yeah.
But I have always enjoyed law enforcement, and so I look forward to this.
Ken's our Jay Carney. That's what it comes down to.
Well,
except they'll tell you the truth.
That's a big difference.
That's a big difference. I don't think he'll equivocate up there all that much. He'll actually tell you what happened.
He won't just refer you to someone else?
No. I'm going to refer you to Health and Human Services on this shooting. I really have nothing more to say today other than the administration is well aware of what's happening here.
But with that, when you disseminate information, here's what authorities want you to know now.
Right.
Here's what we can tell you now. And there's information withheld so as not to jeopardize whatever investigation's going on.
Right. There's still some I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed, and we don't want to tip our hand too much on what's going on here.
Right.
New sheriff settling in fairly well?
Sheriff Caruana took office the first Monday in December, so it's been about 2.5 months. He's doing very well. Longtime Sheriff Dick Myers, I thought, did a great job. He was in office for about 17 years. And speaking of former sheriffs,
yes.
Don Gasparini,
yep.
The funeral for Donnie was yesterday at St. Anthony Church, and I'm sure you had the opportunity to know Donnie back in the 1980s and 1990s. Talk about an iconic figure in this community. He had a lot of friends.
Oh, absolutely. And made new ones everywhere he went.
He did.
That's the mark of a really interesting person. Yeah, right. He had a wealth of people behind him, but he walked into a room full of strangers, had a room full of friends by the time he walked back out again.
He had there was something almost movie star-like about Donnie Gasparini. We will miss him. He was a good man.
I've told this story before, but shortly after I came up and started, my mom had said to me, hey, you ever see that sheriff? You ever see Don Gasparini? I said, yeah, I see him from time to time.
Did she have a crush on him?
Yes. Yeah, as a matter of fact, she did. And said, is he ever going to be at any event that you're going to be at? I said, well, I'll let you know if we have an event where the sheriff and I will be in the same room, and I'll bring you along.
Was your dad aware of this?
Oh, yeah. my dad was hoping Don Gasparini would would relieve him of the burden. He figured if Don could afford her, he could have her. So we had, lo and behold, not long after that, there was an event, and I said to Don, hey, listen, my mom is, like groupie status of being a fan and all that. Would you have a couple of minutes to say hi? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, sure I would. And introduced the two of them, and then I got called away to do something else. Well, he spoke of me in the most glowing terms to my mom, who didn't buy a word of it. It was nice of him to give it an effort, but she just, kind of floated away from her encounter and thought that was just one of the greatest things ever. That says a lot about somebody and the fact that, they're willing to shake hands, look somebody in the eye, and mean it.
And Don had this quality about him, a rare quality, really, that he made you feel like you're the most important person.
Yep.
When... Scott, how are you doing? Tell me about your life. Riley, how are you doing? How's Amy? There's I shouldn't say most people, but many people are more wrapped up in their own personal affairs, and Donnie was a very kind person.
And I've always admired people who are in political life who remember names.
Yeah.
I am the world's worst at remembering. I never forget anybody's face. If I've seen you once, I will remember having seen you, but literally 10 seconds after I meet you, there's a chance that I've forgotten your name.
You know who is great at that? Former Mayor John McNamara.
He's the best I've ever seen.
Yes.
He is the best I've ever seen.
He'll meet you once, and he'll, 3 years later, Scott, how you doing? Riley, how you doing?
I bumped into him one time with a friend, introduced him to the friend. We talked for like 2 minutes. I ran into, I think, at Logley's, and, not Paul Logley's, the grocery store, now known as Schnucks. And we talked for just a couple of minutes. My friend Jim, blah, 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 blah. A decade later, Jim's visiting. We bumped into Mayor McNamara again. And he said, Riley, I was like, Jim, how are you? I said to him, like, how do you do that? I just do. It's just, it's
a talent.
It is, and I imagine there's a
wish I had
skill. I don't have it either. And I've heard that repeat their name 3 times, and you will remember.
Remember some sort of object. Oh, it's like orange, and that's how I'll remember that.
Doesn't work. Because then I'm like, wait a minute, what was that object I was going to remember what it sounded like? Where were we that we met? I'm just going to, okay, Amy, introduce yourself, talk about how rude I am, and get the person's name for me.
People, for some reason, are reluctant or embarrassed to forgive me. I can't. I know you're familiar. I have forgotten your name. Forgive me. But people just go along. Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Chief, dude, Mister.
Hey,
Cowboy,
guy, buddy.
Our former leader here, Guy, was his thing.
Guy.
Hey, Guy.
Hey, Guy. What's going on?
That was his thing. Hey,
Guy.
Hey, Guy. Sir, that's the Pope. You might tell him you're holding it. You don't need to go with, hey, Guy. It's not like you met him before.
Your holiness, Guy.
Your holiness, Guy. It always worked for him. Hey, Guy. Well, I would imagine that's, that was Christmas greeting to his kids. Hey, Guy.
Another former boss in the industry was Bubba. Everyone was Bubba.
Yeah.
Hey, Bubba, what's going on? What?
What?
Bubba.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never thought of myself as a Bubba. So when that came in my direction, there's nothing wrong with Bubbas, but I never considered myself one. But yeah, you get that. You're like, wait.
You know who I am, right? I've been here for 6 years.
You're not wearing your lanyard. Okay. Well, all right. Now, we talked about the job description, public information officer, breaking down the Crimestoppers. Crimestoppers works exactly the same way it has always worked. Am I correct?
It is, or it does, Ryle. Just we're in the business of gathering information, tips from informants who call us, 963-7867. The call is anonymous, no caller ID. We're looking for information to track down people wanted on outstanding or active warrants, information on violent crimes. Rockford, unfortunately, has, in this year alone, I think 6 homicides. Does that sound right? Mm-hmm. And I believe they're all unsolved at this point. And Riley, you and I were talking off the air last week. This community, like many communities across the country, has a serious problem with heroin.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember just being floored by a press release from the coroner's office. In 1 week alone, there were 9 heroin-related overdose deaths in Winnebago County and 1 cocaine-related death. And the coroner says this is not unusual, and this is an indication that this problem is not going away.
Right.
Heroin is relatively cheap on the street. People buy it for whatever, $10 a hit or whatever it is. They get their high, and then right away they want another hit.
Right.
And they're willing to do anything to get that, to satisfy that craving. Just last Monday, guys, Sheriff Caruana recognized 18 Winnebago County Sheriff's deputies who have basically saved lives.
What's that stuff called?
It's called naloxone or Narcan.
Narcan.
It's a medication that basically reverses the effects of the opiates when you're whatever you're doing, heroin or whatever. You can either inject it, or I think the sheriff's deputies have been trained to just basically spray it in the nostrils of somebody who's ODing. And they've, I think this in the last few months, sheriff's deputies have saved, I think, 23 lives of people who are overdosing on heroin. And it's really touching to read and hear about, especially women, mothers who have lost their children to heroin-related deaths. Bonnie Falzone Capriola comes to mind.
Yep.
She lost her son several years ago, and she is committed to educating this community about the depths of the problem. And you know, this is not fantasy land. There will always be a drug problem, but if we educate ourselves and try to I don't know, just make ourselves aware of the magnitude of the problem, we can make an impact, hopefully.
And kudos to all of those officers and the department for having the stuff necessary for deploying it and for saving those lives, because, you know, when you talk about a dozen and 23 saved, you're talking some serious numbers had they not been there.
And I'm sure there are skeptics who say, well, these people are losers, they're hooked, but perhaps if they have been revived from a serious overdose, perhaps that will be the key, or that will be the impetus to get help recovering.
Right.
You know, I mean, an addiction is a horrible thing, but you know, there's always a chance to recover.
And there's always people who are willing to extend a hand and help you out, especially in this community as well.
The Sheriff's Department is actively training other law enforcement agencies in the area to administer Narcan.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, did you bring along a rogues gallery of people wanted? Richie always brought along the pictures.
Yes, I did.
Oh, good pictures, too.
Yeah, we always like to comment on the hairstyles.
Do you want to do the honors? Or?
Nobody's got anything really good. Nah, not all that remarkable. We wait for the one, you know, multiple colors and, you know.
No patriotic shirts either. I like the guys with the red, white, and blue. The flag shirts.
I enjoy those as well.
Taken into custody.
Who are we looking for?
Mario Williams, 23 years old, 5'8", 160 pounds. He's wanted for domestic battery. He's a black male, brown eyes. 26-year-old Joshua Sugar? Hey, Sugar.
Yeah, I'm sure he's heard that a couple of times, I'm sure.
26 years old, 5'6", 150, white male, brown hair, blue eyes. He's wanted for theft. 51-year-old Lisa Fuchs, 5'6", 135 pounds. She is white female, blonde hair, blue eyes, wanted for a narcotics violation. And 40-year-old Crystal Armour, 5'7", 167, black female, black hair, brown eyes. She's wanted for a probation violation. If you know the whereabouts of any of these individuals or any fugitive in the area, 815-963-7867 or toll-free 888-769-STOP.
Or you can go to RockfordCrimestoppers.com. You can download the Crime Stoppers app for your iPhone or your Android system and help out that way.
Boy, technology.
Yeah. See, now, Short, you did a fine job. Sausage rolls, and, you know, it might be a keeper. Ken, thanks for coming in.
Gentlemen, it's my pleasure to see you both. Scott, you must be pumped about the White Sox.
Indeed I am. And he's excited about the Cubs, too, right?
So
excited on both sides of town.
Joe Madden.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing, though? The bleachers will not be ready in time for the opening of the season.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. We lost Ernie Banks.
Ernie Banks' remains remain in question now, pending a lawsuit.
That's too bad.
He wanted his ashes scattered at Wrigley Field when the wind is blowing out. Mm-hmm. I mean, of all the people who want that, can't we grant it for this guy and move on?
Please.
All right, Ken,
thanks,
good to
guys.
see you.